WWE Payback is this Saturday. Will Judgment Day all leave as champions? There will be a Steel City street fight with Finn Balor and Damian Priest going against Sami and KO for the tag team titles. And of course, Rhea Ripley is defending the World Women's Championship against Raquel Rodriguez. There are other matches on the show and a Grayson effect. So if you're not aware of what we're going to look forward to and discuss here today, here it is. So that is your lineup there. And of course, well, it's not the full lineup on this panel today. I'm joined by the one, the only, Mr. NXSteve in the house. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm very good, my friend. It's always a pleasure to be back on the channel. I've recovered from All In, and yeah, I'm excited to talk about the show.
Literally myself as well. It was a hell of a show. It was a great experience to be part of, and great to see you as well. Obviously, we actually got to be together in person for the first time in what felt like was about 20 years. Would that be right in saying?
22 years. I think 2001 was probably the last time we physically saw each other. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. So there you go. But that was a special experience. If anyone wants to go and check the social accounts of mine, Twitter, Instagram, there's pictures, videos, all on there. And of course, there is some on the community tab on here as well. But we'll be talking about WWE Payback here today. Obviously, we've gone through the match card for you there. NXSteve, I'll start nice and early with you and just ask you excitement levels out of 10 for this show.
I think it has the possibility to be a really good show. It's just a case of, like we were talking off air a minute ago, a lot of it seems quite predictable. I'm hoping that we get some surprises on this show. So I'm going to say a 7 out of 10 for me. Like I said, there's some potential for some really good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I kind of see where you're coming from. I think there is a potentially a predictable layer to this show. I go with 7 out of 10 as well, but sometimes predictable can be a good thing. It depends on how it is booked and how it's gone, because we've got very talented athletes on offer. And of course, there could still be 1 or 2 surprises and 1 or 2 surprise predictions that could be coming in this stream. So there is your hook to keep you in. Of course, the big thing here as well, will Judgment Day all leave as champions, which we've put as the title of the video. But which match are you most looking forward to, NXSteve?
I'm going to have to say probably the main event of, like, well, if it is the main event, the tag team match. I think it's a much anticipated match. I think there's going to be some surprises with this, and I think this has got probably the most to like divulge when it comes to the story. Otherwise, I think that it's going to be like there's a lot more to get from it story-wise coming out of it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Judgment Day does feel like a big, heavy focus going into this show now. Rhea's put that ultimatum of, like, you need to win those tag team titles near enough.
Steve, give me 2 seconds. I've just got to drop out a second.
That's totally fine. I will continue talking to our chat in the meantime. But for me to give my match of what I would look forward to the most, it has to be Seth Freakin Rollins versus Shinsuke Nakamura. I think that the build for this has actually been really well done. The fact we've had Nakamura's heel turn, the fact that we've built up as well the video packages for Shinsuke Nakamura, you know, saying what he's going to do to Seth Rollins in Japanese, and the way they've presented backstage with the karate stuff. I just think it's all been a very tasteful, very well done. Shinsuke Nakamura feels like a very different threat in WWE right now, and I really like it. And it actually poses himself as a good threat for Seth Freakin Rollins, exposing the back injuries that Seth Rollins has had, and will he overcome that? Of course, at Payback this Saturday. But we'll go into the chat in the meantime. We've got the American Nightmare in house. Thank you for checking us out. Hope you are doing well. We'll be talking about Cody as well, being on the Grayson effect on this stream. Wrestle Boom in house as well. Should I do the boom as well? Good to see you. Hope you're keeping well. Pierre also in house also. And same. What a week to be a wrestling fan, eh? First Payback on Saturday, then All Out on Sunday. And of course, if you are an AEW fan, yes, we'll be doing All Out predictions later this week. And also to say here, I've got to say this Payback is a pretty decent card for a secondary PLE for WWE. I have to admit that. I quite have to agree with that, Pierre. And thank you for sharing as well the match you're most looking forward to. The Miz versus L.A Knight, which will be the first match we're talking about. And of course, as well, Rhea versus Raquel. As well as that, Russell Boom here saying, I'm going to be honest, the only matches I'm excited for are Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Rodriguez, KO and Sami versus Judgment Day, and L.A Knight versus The Miz. Well, Russell Boom, make sure to stick around because we're going to make those other matches feel very interesting. I do promise you. But in the meantime, we're going to bring NXSteve back into the house. NXSteve, it's good to have you, my friend. And are you ready to dive in? Kids, eh?
Kids,
honestly.
don't have them, man. Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm ready to go.
advice to people watching here today. It's too late for me. It's too late for me. But we're going to our first match anyway, regardless. And I'll tell you what a way to start it off. We're going to be talking about L.A. Knight. Yeah. Versus The Miz. Two fantastic talkers, and they've shown that so well in WWE over the past few weeks. And yes, this is Raw versus SmackDown, but hey, who needs the draft after Raw when it comes down to these two? The Miz, of course, saying that L.A. Knight is a flash in the pan, a wannabe, saying that pretty much he was the horse that WWE wouldn't bet on for many, many years, but L.A. Knight explained himself as being the horse that WWE should bet on, and they've always gone for the safe option in people like The Miz. The Miz, of course, costing LA Knight a United States Championship match, costing a match on SmackDown, of course, against Austin Theory, who, of course, later in this show will be discussing his rematch against Rey Mysterio. We could say there was a distraction involved from LA Knight. He went to Raw. The Miz wanted to have a tune-up match, if you will, and he ended up being beat by Tozawa, which, to be fair, was kind of an even match before that finish happened. And, well, now we've seen an awesome promo, obviously, with the Bray Wyatt tribute show on SmackDown from LA Knight on Bray Wyatt, then turned into Miz. That was amazing, especially when he said, a wise man once said, the next time you see me, run. The Miz also then doing the impressions of LA Knight on Monday Night Raw, which I think got quite a big pop from a lot of people across social media. So, to be fair, I think this has been quite a hot build. No championships involved, but this rivalry has been pretty good. Two great talkers, making it very personal, very quickly, and it's a good match for this Saturday.
I mean, I think for the short amount of time, I think it's done really well, especially the fact that these two are great on the mic. Miz doing another one of his infamously famous impressions, dressing up as LA Knight this week, just to add on to his John Cena impression, his Rock's impression, and the host of other ones I'm pretty much sure he's done. Yeah, like I said, I'm excited to see it. It's not going to be like the most exciting in-ring match, but I'm just hoping it does something story-wise for me, because that's, I think, what the biggest problem with this is where it's going to go afterwards, where if it's a case of LA Knight's going to go back in for that United States Championship, whether these are going to continue this feud somehow and what they're going to do with it. But I am genuinely excited to see what they do. Like I said, Miz is one of the safest workers on the card, so you can't really go wrong with that. And then, LA Knight's just LA Knight. I mean, he's going to get the biggest pop of the night no matter what.
Absolutely, and it's great to see LA Knight on a premium live event. Of course, this now would be the third PLE in a row. Of course, he was involved on Money in the Bank. Of course, was on a losing effort in the Money in the Bank ladder match for the men. Then, of course, he was in SummerSlam, won the Slim Jim Battle Royale. Step into a Slim Jim, oh yeah! And now he's got his first singles match, of course, as well. There, apologies about the impression. He's got his first singles match on a PLE here. Since the Royal Rumble, since Bray Wyatt. So it feels like with this feud, the Miz is usually that guy that's the first person that someone will rival with when the push is on, when they want to get into the next level. Because like you said, Miz is a safe worker, he's a good talker. Usually it gets someone to that next level of the card. And regardless of the fact this is Raw versus SmackDown, it feels like it's a good placeholder feud for LA Knight until they can push him to that next level. And I think they will put him to a higher level after this, which of course makes the prediction very easy for me. I think LA Knight does defeat the Miz here at Payback. NXSteve, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go with LA Knight as well. It's the right choice, I suppose, to obviously try and build LA Knight up. But then again, I wouldn't be against the Miz winning, just so that we can maybe prolong this feud a bit more, get some more quality promos out of the two, put some more higher risk stakes on it. I don't know. Like I said, if you can get that United States Championship involved somehow between these two, I think this could be a great little sort of 2-3 month rivalry that they've got going on. Like I said, I'm excited for it, but I think I'm just going to go with LA Knight because it's the most predictable one.
It feels like it makes the most sense as well. I mean, this actually would make a really lot of sense to kick off the show as well. Start the crowd off hot, give the victory to the babyface in LA Knight going forward. And I just think it's a great tone setter for the rest of Payback if this was to kick off the show. And like I said, I think good things are on the way for LA Knight. The Miz has not really had a great winning streak in 2023 either. I think I saw a shocking record that he's not won a match in a very, very long time when you include live events as well there. So I do see that LA Knight should pick up the win here. But we'll go into the chat in the meantime. Go on, Steve.
The Miz is just to say, the Miz is one of them guys that really can just take losses, and it's not really going to affect him that much. It's just that's the good thing about him is that he can always compensate for it in other ways, like promos and stuff like that. So a loss for the Miz is nothing out of the ordinary.
No, and it doesn't harm him either, does it? And I think that's the
Yeah.
other good thing that comes for it as well here. Wrestle Boom going with L.A Knight to pick up the victory. We've got Noob and Cohen House says, hello, everyone. Hope you have, I guess, enjoyed All In Weekend. We certainly did indeed. Don't want to talk about the whole Brawl In fiasco. No, we won't be doing that today. It is all WWE Payback, so don't worry. You are safe when it comes to that. Brock Randolph in the house. Good to see you, Brock. It's been a while. KO and Sami versus the Judgment Day. In my position, KO and Sami win. Thank you for sharing that prediction nice and early. We'll be talking about that later on in the stream. And Pierre here says, don't forget that there'll be a Grayson Water effect with Cody Rhodes. I think Randy Orton will come back on that segment. And of course, we'll get Randy versus Cody feud. It's a great shout there. We'll be talking about that a little bit later on as well. We will be talking about the Grayson Waller effect. Pierre goes on to say as well that Rhea versus Raquel can be the match of this show. It certainly has the potential to do so. And American Nightmare also saying that Hope L.A Knight goes for the US title after Payback. So we will move on in the meantime after talking about L.A Knight versus The Miz, and we'll move things on to a solid steel cage match. We're going to talk about Becky Lynch versus Trish Stratus. This one has been going on for quite a while, this rivalry. Of course, these two, Trish lost the Women's Tag Team Championships on behalf here. They had a match, of course, at Night of Champions that led Trish to having the backup of Zoe Stark. Since then, with Trish getting the victory, she did get a loss against Becky Lynch in a very short DQ match, of course. That was when they were trying to stop the proper match between Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus. Eventually, Trish put the wall up in front of Becky Lynch. If she was to lose a match against Zoe Stark, she would have to get a tattoo says thank you Trish on her. Of course, Becky Lynch won that match. She's had a Falls Count Anywhere win this past week on Raw, and now we've got the steel cage match because, well, Trish has been trying to escape. So, of course, no one can escape a steel cage match, and of course, no one's supposed to be able to get into the match either. WWE, we know better, but still, it feels like this feud's been going on for quite a while, and obviously, this feels like it does feel like the natural conclusion of this rivalry. A match that was rumored to be on SummerSlam originally, that was bumped, of course, in the last minute. It's getting a big moment here at Payback, and I must admit, I think that this I'm looking forward to it. I know this rivalry's been going on for a while, but I think that Becky and Trish have done good things, and I think this hopefully is going to be a good closing match for their feud.
I think it was the right call to lead this off SummerSlam. I know pushing it to paperback isn't the greatest thing in the world, but I think it's just given WWE the ability to give them more time and let them be more creative. And I think adding a stipulation to this actually makes it more exciting than what it probably could have been if it was just a straight up singles match. It's been a while since I've seen a cage match, so I am looking forward to it. It's just a case of like I said at the start, this is a very, I think, narrative driven show, and what's going to come after it, whether it's going to be a case of Becky goes on to face Rhea or Raquel, whoever wins that match later on in the night. And then what does Trish do afterwards? I mean, are we possibly going to get a Zoe Stark heel turn and have Trish face turn and have Zoe turn on Trish? I don't know. So it'd just be excited to see what the outcome of this one is.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing you mentioned about Trish and Zoe potentially, because obviously with the Falls Count Anywhere match on Raw, Zoe accidentally hit Trish. Of course, they had the 2-on-1 advantage, and of course that led to the downfall here, the big shot face from Zoe Stark as well. If Zoe is to screw up a second time here at Payback, that could lead to perhaps a breakup between Trish and Zoe. For me personally, I hope it doesn't happen because I do think these two would make great women's tag team champions.
It's actually not a bad shout. Actually, now you say that, it'd probably be a great shout. Even though Trish has already been a tag team champion, I think it'd be a great way to help build Zoe Stark up a bit more and help her raise her level in the company and show what quality she can deliver. Because I think she's personally been great since she's come up. She's had some really good in-ring competition. I think she's still kind of trying to find her feet in promos, but I think, like you said, the tag team wise for the tag titles, I think it would be a great shout. And who are the current champions anyway? I forget with that title who they are.
Now it's Chelsea Green and Piper Niven now.
That's right. There you go. Yeah. So it could be. Wow. Yeah, it could be a fun way, depending on what they do, whether they do a tournament or something. Yeah, I think it'd be a great shot.
Absolutely, indeed. And I'll get your prediction as well while we're at it.
It's a bit hard to go against Becky Lynch, really. So I'm going to go with Becky to win. I think there'll be some shenanigans as usual, but I think Becky will. Do you know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see Becky climb over the cage and escape. I think it's a really long time since we've actually seen someone do it via that way. So hopefully that's the way she wins.
That would be quite fun. Nostalgic and old school. I like that as well there.
Yeah.
I think the same as you, Becky Lynch to win. A couple of reasons behind it. I do think Zoe's going to mess up again. I'd like it to remain 1-on-1 though. Whether Zoe actually messes up early in the evening, stops herself from being allowed at ringside, could be an interesting note as well. But I don't know if WWE have already put that stipulation in. But my other reasoning for it is that, Tiffany Stratton called out Becky Lynch, or made a mistake about Becky Lynch, saying she was a former NXT Women's Champion recently on NXT TV. She was in the crowd on Monday night on Raw. Becky, of course, on social media said she had not been a NXT Women's Champion, ... yet. So I think that we could be getting Becky Lynch versus Tiffany Stratton at the next NXT show, which will be No Mercy at the end of September, which would be a fascinating match, especially to see if Tiffany so early in her title reign could retain that championship. But so yeah, that's my reasoning for why I think Becky Lynch will pick up the W.
Here's a shout for you for a concept. Becky handcuffs Zoe's hands together, but they're through the door and the side of the cage. So the cage door can't be opened, and the only way to climb out is someone has to go over the top. So that's what I'd like to see, just so it forces someone to have to climb over the top of that cage.
That's such a creative spot as well. I don't ever remember seeing something like that before. So that'd be quite awesome. I like it. NXT, you could be onto something. WWE, if you're watching, listen to this man. He knows what he's talking about. Book it indeed. Absolutely. Russell Boom in the house says, I predict Becky Lynch win, and then Zoe Stark will turn on Trish. So there we go. Also, we hear Maria in the house. Maria, hope you're doing well. We've got here that AOP is coming back. Also, Tiffany Stratton could help Trish next. Tiffany is a fan of Trish. Kid and Dream match to face Becky. So that could be a way to do it as well. If Tiffany was to actually help Trish Stratus. Of course, Becky Lynch getting the advantage on Raw. We usually say that 50-50 can work against you when it comes to the PLE. Is there a chance that maybe if Zoe doesn't get the help, that Tiffany is the one that helps Trish to win here?
It could be a possibility, but then I think with just NXT booking, like I know they've just had a fatal 4-way for the number one contender, which Kiana James has just won. So I don't know whether that's meant to be for No Mercy or what, but yeah, like I said, I like the idea of it. It's just the case of, is it a possibility? I don't think so at the minute. I think Tiffany Stratton's just a little bit too green to be involved with the likes of Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus for me.
We'll have to wait and see. But what I will say, Maria, I think it's a very great shout you've
made.
Idea. It's a great idea. We'll see if it does come to fruition this Saturday. Nubico says, Becky Lynch winning. Probably we're getting Becky taking on Tiffany Stratton. It feels like a lot of people seeing that same idea going forward for No Mercy. And of course, it's going to be No Mercy month on this channel in September. So make sure to keep all eyes on things, retro content for No Mercy in September.
I'll start studying No Mercy now, yeah?
I think you should. We'll involve a quiz as well, yes. It says, Dirk in house, thank you, Dirk. I do think Trish Stratus should be with Zoe Stark and add a third female member to turn it into a stable. So we've been talking there about Tiffany Stratton. Is there someone else you'd like to see on the roster to make a thank you Trish stable?
I'm just trying to think if there's any woman on the roster at the minute that's currently being underutilized. I mean, hell, I don't know. Maybe I'd be honest with you. I'm much more excited by the idea of we're thinking of a tag team, just because then maybe we can get Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell more involved. Bring some proper depth to that tag team division. And like I said, if we got a tag team tournament going for those women's title, I'd be much more excited in seeing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, I prefer the tag team title idea, but certainly when you look at Bayley with Damage Control, obviously looking out for 2 stars and help build them up, maybe Trish can do that in the role as well, and that can try and help her get towards a women's championship run towards the end of the year.
What current show are they on? They're on Raw, aren't they?
They are on Raw indeed, yes. I mean, looking through that Raw women's roster, who is stuck in catering, I think, is probably the best question to ask. Or is it time to call up a Cora Jade? That could be an idea that they could go with as well.
That's actually not a bad shout. I like the sound of that. I'm just going to have a quick look, though, and just while we're still talking, I'm just going to see who's available on the Raw women's roster, just as out of interest.
Sounds good to me. In the meantime, I'll just quickly bring up Dirk's comment saying got Trish to win if Tiffany was to show up, but then choose Becky Lynch. We'll have to wait and see how it will play out. And we've got Jack in house. I said Jake there. Jack in house says up to YouTube legends. Thank you very much. I got Becky Lynch, and also Steve, did you hear after the merger WWE's interested in more free agents? Names like Camille and the Tonga twins. Haven't seen it, haven't heard of it, Jack, but Jack and Jake. I'm getting confused today. I'm very sorry. Yeah, I'll keep an eye out and we'll see if anything does come to fruition.
I'd be more concerned that there's probably going to be some releases first before we see some signings, just because we know that WWE and UFC are going to have to release some back office staff, just because you don't need 2 lots of accountants, don't need 2 lots of marketing departments. So I imagine there's going to be some cuts there, and then I've got a feeling we're going to see some cuts to some talent. So give it a month or so, and like I said, we might see some releases, unfortunately.
That sounds very sad indeed. But Maria suggests Emma, and we've got Wrestle Boom here suggesting Tegan Knox here to help Becky Lynch.
That was a great shout.
So Emma would be a great shout. So obviously Riddick Moss also has been missing from TV for quite a while as well. So if they're not going to do that partnership, that would actually use Emma pretty well on WWE TV. But we'll wait and see how it goes. I've gone with the tag team idea. If I had to pick someone, I'd go Cora Jade. NXT, is anything you'd like to add before we move on to match number 3?
Do you know what? I think Aaliyah deserves a shout. I've just seen her name on there, and it's like, do you know what?
Yes.
Aaliyah had a great time under, I believe it was Vince at the start of it. She was having some quality matches, got some wins. She got a win in, what was it, 3 minutes 16 or whatever it was. That she had an Aaliyah t-shirt going. Give her another chance. I don't see why not.
I don't see why not. I'd like to see Aaliyah get another crack, to be honest. I feel like she's had a bit of an unfair time as of late. But
or even, I'll tell you what, Xia Li as well. Xia Li's just disappeared from the roster as well.
And she is on the Raw brand. Where is Xia Li? Ciampa needs more missing posters, not just Gargano. We need to be looking for at this rate. But we'll go on to match 3 in the meantime anyway. And we'll be talking about the United States Championship match. Rey Mysterio defending the United States Championship against Austin Theory. Of course, Austin Theory was the previous champion, held the championship for a long time as well. Of course, he was originally meant to defend that championship against Santos Escobar. He took Escobar out before the match. Rey Mysterio, in classic WrestleMania 9 fashion, like a Hulk Hogan to Bret Hart, said, "I'll do it, me. I'll take it on." With Santos kind of going, "You go for it, you do it." And yes, the veteran goes and wins that championship. Now, some may say, in NXT, I may be getting ahead of myself here. Some may say, why did Rey win it? Why does he need to win the championship in 2023? Well, think Dirty Dom is the North American champion. It's a bigger than just the United States Championship, so it gives Dirty Dom that sort of thing to play off of. But also, I'm thinking long term here, NXT, and I want to get your thoughts on this. I'm thinking that Santos Escobar happy today, maybe not happy tomorrow. Now, I'm not suggesting it will be a turn on this match here at Payback, but I'm thinking long-term, maybe Rey Mysterio versus Santos Escobar for the United States Championship, perhaps even kicking Rey Mysterio out of the LWO. And I wouldn't even be surprised if one day, if there are Judgment Day implosions, because we're going to talk about Judgment Day in great depth later on in this stream, what if Dirty Dom was to be a part of the LWO as well?
I like what you're saying, but then I don't know. See, I thought the idea of Rey losing it, which then forces Santos Escobar to be annoyed at Rey for losing it at the first. Well, this would be what I think his first title defense as well. I think if you was to do it that way, I think it gives Santos more ammunition to lose. I think both ways work, if I'm honest. Like, I'm thinking about it now, I kind of like the way you're saying it, like that Santos actually gets a shot and then it forces them to kick Rey out of the LWO, and then it starts to make LWO a proper heel faction, which is probably what they should be, aside from merch sellers. So yeah, I mean, they could both work. I like the sound of it. It's the same question we say every time we do these predictions, and it's, will WWE book it? Unfortunately.
That is always the way. And of course, if they wanted to do an LWO WrestleMania themed match, you could always do Rey Mysterio versus Santos Escobar. Or if you get Dirty Dom involved, like I've suggested as an idea, just an idea, you can have Escobar and Dirty Dom versus Rey Mysterio and Bad Bunny.
That's actually a pretty good shout. I do, yeah. It makes sense. You've got a big name superstar coming in who's had a pretty good match before. I like the sounds of it, but then my problem with that is where does Rhea fit in that equation? Because I couldn't see Rhea being a member of the LWO, unfortunately. I think those two are destined to go off like China and Eddie Guerrero and do their own thing for a while before we get those two split.
I kind of feel the same as you. I feel that they're not ready for that split yet, so maybe Rhea and Dom will do their own thing, and maybe it's just Rey versus Santos as the long-term vision. But for that vision for me to take place, I need Rey Mysterio to retain the championship here. Austin Theory, for me, has had his time as United States champion. I think it's time for him to do something else. Will that something else be John Cena starting on SmackDown this Friday?
It's a very good shout, and I think for that reason, which is why I'm going to give you my prediction now, is I think Austin Theory is going to win this, and I think he's going to get that United States title back. I think a feud with Cena, possibly, the United States title gives him more ammunition for a feud with him.
Absolutely. Now, my reasoning for why I think Theory should face Cena again is, and no one's talking about this. I have not seen anyone talking about this on social media. So tell me if you think you've seen this before, and NXSteve, what you think about this. But John Cena said to Austin Theory before WrestleMania, "You're not ready. You're not ready to face me at WrestleMania. What happens if you lose that match? Better yet, what happens if you win? What has happened to Austin Theory since WrestleMania? Nothing. Nothing." And I'm just going to say this because maybe I'm giving WWE too much credit here. What if it's by design? What if it is by design? Austin Theory has taken a back seat, and there's going to be a point where Theory says, well, it's all gone wrong since facing John Cena. John Cena now is not just coming back for Superstar Spectacle. He is coming back for the next 7 to 8 weeks on SmackDown. He's going to be around for a while.
Wow. It's a good shout, because it's almost like a case of Cena's got ammunition to turn around and say, what have you done since Mania? You've done nothing with the United States title. All you've done is lost it. You've not done anything of credibility. You've not enhanced your game. You've not taken the next step. You existed and lost the title. So it's a pretty good shout, to be fair. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm excited to see a possibility of a John Cena Grayson Waller match, but hell, if Cena's around for 8 weeks, I can't see why not that they don't do both of them.
They can do indeed. And Grayson Waller, fun enough, is the next thing we're going to be talking about. I'm linking the Cena stuff in together. I thought this line up through today. Some will agree and some will disagree with that. But at the same time, like, we'll have to see how...
I knocked my table and it all wobbled.
Okay. Well, anyway, so your Austin Theory is going to be your prediction for this one.
It is indeed, yeah.
Well, I will go for Rey Mysterio. I think that the long-term direction right now for the United States Championship will be Rey versus Santos Escobar, whenever that may be. And it could be towards the end of the calendar year.
But this is what I'm saying about this card. It has the potential to really build on some key story points now for the next 3 months of their storytelling, whether it be Rey versus Santos, Rey versus Theory versus Cena. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot to come out of the show, I feel.
Absolutely, indeed. And that's what could be quite interesting and quite fun. And Maria just simply saying, A-Town down, going to be there for the victory there. A prediction from Maria. Nubico saying Nikki Cross and Tegan Nox could be two people that could be involved with that stable we were talking about earlier with Trish and Zoe Stark. I think my favorite of the two would be Tegan Nox at this particular moment. Maria carrying on with the Dom taking over LWO and Rey Mysterio bringing in Dragon Lee. That's also an alternative that they could do as well, especially as they are having that going on NXT right now. It looks likely we could be getting Dragon Lee versus Dodo Dom again if Dragon Lee can defeat Mustafa Ali. WrestleBoom here says Rey Mysterio versus Santos Escobar at WrestleMania 40. That was the vision. WrestleBoom, you see the vision. I like that you see the vision. Dirk says here Rey Mysterio to win. And WrestleBoom saying Austin Theory versus John Cena at WrestleMania 39 rematch at Crown Jewel or Fastlane. Interesting, because I don't know. Maybe John Cena still is around for Crown Jewel as well. He's going to be around for quite a few weeks.
Yeah, I think the only worry about that is Theory a big enough name for a crown jewel? Do you know what I mean? Like, it depends on where they want to go with it. If they want to make that happen, if John Cena would be around for crown jewel, I imagine it unfortunately would be probably a bigger name or someone higher up on the card, like a Gunter or something. Do you know what I mean? Just that. Do you know what I mean? Like Gunter versus John Cena at crown jewel. How amazing does that sound?
I mean, that's if you ask me if there's a Cena match you want to see, that's the match I want to see. But then if you ask me any wrestler usually, what match do you want to see? Gunter's usually the answer. It doesn't matter who it is.
Gunter versus ...
Exactly. American Nightmare, personally, I'm tired of Theory in the United States Championship picture. I mean, he's been around it now for around a year now, so I can understand your feelings with that. Dirk asking, how do we feel about Austin Theory and Grayson Waller as a team under The Miz? Personally, I think Grayson Waller and The Miz would be working for me rather than Austin Theory.
Do you know what? I wouldn't have a problem with it. I think that, like, they're three great characters on the mic, and I think it would work really well as a dynamic. Like, it would be a case of like who's got the biggest ego at the three of them, and it could be like the Miz takes the two of them under his wing as like, look guys, I'm a 2-time like quadruple crown champion, do you know what I mean, and all that kind of stuff. I like the sound of it, but yeah, I know what you mean. It's a case of, I think that's too many eggs in one basket though. That's too many characters that you're taking away from potentially other storylines and to work with other people.
Absolutely. Crazy idea from WrestleBoom. Austin Theory and Grayson Waller should team up and maybe dethrone Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Interesting. I still prefer the Miz and Waller, but they're on the wrong show, so that's why I prefer that myself. But also, I think Santos should be feuding for the United States Championship. Maria here says, if AOP is coming back, then how about them and Bron Breakker with Paul Ellering? I mean, it's a lot of maybes.
Yeah, it's just a case of, let's be honest, AOP didn't exactly have the greatest run in WWE, and I think it's a case of, I wouldn't want them to be kind of like what Hit Row are at the minute, and they just come back and don't do anything. I don't think AOP like getting rid of Paul Ellering on the first night of Raw was just the most stupid thing they've done.
Absolutely.
But I think that was more of a backstage decision rather than a creative decision, because I don't think Paul Ellering wanted to do the touring or the dates and stuff like that. So, but they aside from being Seth's goons for like 5 minutes, they didn't really make a mark enough to that if they were to come back, I think people would be excited to see them. Unfortunately.
I think they may need to make a splash if they are going to come back. I suppose with a Bron Breakker, it possibly could be. WrestleMania would suggest the idea of Paul Heyman being a manager for Bron Breakker after WrestleMania 40. That would involve the Wise Man being kicked away from Roman in that meantime. So it's a big early prediction indeed there, WrestleMania. I like your style. But in the meantime, we will move on and we will be talking about the Grayson Waller effect. That's right. It's going to be taking place with special guest Cody Rhodes in the house. Now, very quickly, this can lead to one of two things for me. Either a match against Cody Rhodes, or if we are building to Grayson Waller versus John Cena, that could be a possibility. Maybe John Cena is going to show up on this show at Payback and surprise the crowd and give them a big pop. I wonder if it's going to be WrestleMania being touted around everywhere once again, where Grayson Waller will only settle for Australia.
Do you know what? Thinking about it, it is a pretty good shout, but then because like I'm sitting there thinking to myself, do they risk it and not have Cody on the show? Cody being like one of the biggest stars in the company at the minute, and it's like to not have him be on this show, I think he's almost criminal. And if this is how they get him on the show, is fine. I just hope that they don't replace Cody with John Cena, although. No, because John Cena's back this Friday on SmackDown. So yeah, I would hope that I'd hope that there's an interaction this Friday that I don't know. Like I said, they need to keep Cody on this show. I think is the most important thing for me. So, but I'm up for seeing whatever they want to do. Whether the case it might be, I don't know. Could be Cody Rhodes and John Cena versus Grayson Waller and The Miz or whatever. You know what I mean? We could get any dynamic coming out this weekend.
Or Waller and Theory could actually be the way, the direction it could go. And that was the suggestion I was going to make there, because obviously if John Cena wants to be protected in his time in WWE, a tag team match could be the way to go, like he did in teaming with KO at the end of 2022, of course, on SmackDown. I believe that was against Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn at the time, which led to the start of the cracks of Sami being led out of the bloodline. Of course, with John Cena, you can either have the new face of the company, Cody Rhodes, or you can have the other rising star, L.A. Knight, if you want to do Cena L.A. Knight versus Grayson Waller and The Miz. So there are multiple different options of what you can do with John Cena when it comes to Superstar Spectacle, and perhaps leading into Fastlane as well. Perhaps maybe it's not a one-and-done situation, because I believe Superstar Spectacle is a house show for those watching in India, and power to you if you're going in attendance. Hope you enjoy the show. But of course, if it's going to be then brought to TV afterwards, that certainly wouldn't be a silly move from WWE either.
No, definitely not. It's just the case. Yeah, I mean, it's John Cena at the end of the day, and you can do so much with him to build up people. It's like it's unreal what he can do. Like putting Theory over at Mania is such a massive thing as well, and the interactions he's had with Grayson Waller, just like Grayson Waller's had it so easy since coming up. Like he's been basically just thrown in with Hall of Famers since he come in, and he has excelled every time. I mean, even his match against was it Rey Mysterio who just fought on Monday Night Raw? Do you know what I mean? Another Hall of Famer. He just seems to be like the new legend killer, if you know what I mean.
He's certainly taking a lot of L's in the but it's not hurting him either. Of course, it was the main event of Madison Square Garden against Edge on SmackDown as well. So he's been in there. It feels like a match against Cena feels inevitable. But if he wants to be perhaps in a match against Cody Rhodes, or it could set up Cody Rhodes' next rival, who would you like it to be?
I think for the longevity point of view, and just to keep Cody out of that title scene a bit longer, I'd actually probably like it to be Cody. I think Grayson Waller versus Cody has the potential to be, again, some great promos, some quality in-ring action as well. I mean, you can get Grayson Waller doing some proper dirty deeds, some dirty tactics, just some stuff to just try and drag this feud out a bit. I'd be more excited to see that.
Yeah, same indeed. If this was to turn into a match on the night, Cody Rhodes to win, surely.
Yeah, 100%. Cody Rhodes doesn't lose for anyone except for Roman Reigns.
It seems like it in the modern day, although he is overcoming adversity, ladies and gentlemen. But absolutely, Jack obviously saying from earlier on, got in Rey Mysterio to beat Austin Theory. We'll move on in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, then to match 5 of the stream, or talking point number 5 is going to be the Women's World Championship. Rhea Ripley against Raquel Rodriguez. Of course, Raquel has been taken out by Rhea Ripley, just pretty much by a lot of the women's roster, including Liv Morgan. Rhea Ripley has been an absolute menace, picking on a lot of people. Obviously, she's bigger and stronger than a lot of the division, in the words of Raquel Rodriguez. And Raquel says, well, she's bigger and stronger than Rhea, and has gone to prove it. Now, obviously, they have a chance to have a match at Payback. Of course, it was a match again rumored for SummerSlam. Raquel was not cleared for that match. She is cleared now. But Rhea Ripley's wording is that, well, the Judgment Day, this is the first time we're going to be talking about it now. Friction amongst the Judgment Day between Finn Balor and Damian Priest has led to doubt to whether this group is running Monday Night Raw and running WWE, just like Rhea has said it, and they look at her as vulnerable, which is someone why, like Raquel, is targeting Rhea Ripley. Interesting words, interesting philosophy. These two have had great matches in NXT. I think of New Year's Evil, the year before, the year that Rhea Ripley got called up, I believe it was 2021. So these two have had stolen the show before and potentially could do so again here. What are you feeling about Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Rodriguez?
I'm excited for it just because it's been a while since we've seen this match in action. It's just a case of that I think this is one of the most predictable matches on the night. I think there's other stuff to come out of this story-wise, like with Judgment Day, rather than Rhea herself being the target of, do you know what I mean, a possibility of her losing her title on this show. So, I mean, prediction-wise, I'm going to say Rhea retains. I just think that, yeah, story-wise, Judgment Day, there's much more to come from that. And I think that Rhea Ripley needs to be the consistency in the Judgment Day for everything else to fall apart. It kind of makes more sense for me that way. Raquel, don't get me wrong, I do love Raquel, but Raquel needs a heel turn badly. Babyface does not work for Raquel, not at the minute, unfortunately. Her whole run in NXT with Dakota Kai was fantastic. They really should have kept her the same when she came up, and it's just a case of she just stands there and smiles, and it's like, for me, the character's just boring, unfortunately, and I'm just not intrigued by it at all, unfortunately.
It doesn't match her in-ring work at all. Raquel
No.
is a fantastic when it comes to in-ring. Like she's powerful. She's got an interesting moveset. And of course, the thing is that works so much better when it's Big Mama Cool in NXT. And it feels like now, like you said, Smiley Raquel, it's not connecting as well. You can see that the splash on Raw, it didn't really get a big reaction, which is such a shame because talented performer. These two probably could knock it out of the park when it comes to Payback. But like you said there, it's one of the more predictable matches on the show here. Rhea Ripley to retain this here because, like you said, if all the Judgment Day are going to leave as champions, well, obviously Rhea Ripley needs to do so. But the friction of Judgment Day and will they leave as champions doesn't really come through Rhea Ripley. She's kind of, like you said, she's that masterpiece. If you think of a chessboard, she is the queen. That is literally playing everybody around here across the board and making sure that everyone is doing their part. And of course, she's taking out everybody over the other side as well. When you look at the likes of a Candice LeRae, Indy Hartwell, Liv Morgan, the list goes on and on who she's been taking out at this time being. So I think Rhea Ripley will retain here, and the pressure will be left to Finn Balor and Damian Priest later on in the evening.
Yeah, I mean, she's essentially the glue at this point that's keeping this Judgment Day together, aside from Dom, but Dom's obviously, Dom's just Rhea's plaything that just sits there and he's a good boy and just sits there and behaves himself. But I don't think that Raquel is the biggest star to take that title off of her either. I think that it has to be someone like a Becky or someone like that has to take that title at the minute. I don't think Raquel is big enough to do it, unfortunately. Not at this minute, anyway.
No, I think more build is needing to be done. Obviously, there's enough time on this show to have a showcase match, and hopefully this could maybe lead to a rematch down the line. Maybe that could help as well in the short to medium term. But I have Rhea Ripley to win. It just makes the most sense, and it feels like the first real time that I would say that the belt feels in jeopardy. But certainly for Rhea Ripley, this is the first time that I feel a match could go longer than 10 minutes with Rhea on a show since WrestleMania.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. Rhea's not going to be pinning them in about 4 minutes flat. So, yeah, you're right. It'll probably be about 12 minutes long, but it'll be Rhea's toughest challenge to date.
I think that's probably where we're going to go with it from there. WrestleRoom says I got Rhea Ripley to win, but I want Raquel to win. And also Ben here with some suggestions saying that Liv Morgan returning. Would love it. I believe she's out for a while, though. I believe it's for a while. A surprise return for like Nia Jax or Rhea stands with the title and leaves. It looks like the Rhea Ripley may stand with the title and leave, according to us. So that's what we think will happen on this show. And also saying that people say get Raquel in the LWO after this. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. They've got Zelina Vega in there already.
Yeah, like I said, I think they should have brought up Elektra Lopez when the LWF or when Legado del Fantasma first came up, and they could have had those two as a tag team. I mean, I wouldn't be against it. I just think that if they're going to do that, it needs to be a heel dynamic, and it needs to be a heel LWO for Raquel to join. For me, that's what Raquel needs. Unfortunately, Raquel needs someone else to bounce off of.
Yeah, needs the heel turn more than needs to join a different group or something like that at this point. I think that's the key factor we have going forward with it. But we appreciate everyone's comments and everyone's suggestions. If you enjoyed the video so far, make sure to hit the like button, share with a friend, and subscribe as well. Do all that good stuff as we go in now to the two main matches of this card. Of course, we're going to start off with the Steel City Street Fight for the Unified Tag Team Championships. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn taking on Finn Balor and Damian Priest again. Will Judgment Day all leave as champions? Well, we predicted Rhea Ripley to retain her championship. Dirty Dom is NXT North American champion. He is safe when it comes to this show. That is not the match we're talking about. And also, we have got then, like we said, Finn Balor and Damian Priest. Will they be the two members that will be able to take the WWE Unified Tag Team Championships away from Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens? Interesting note in this match, of course, they've been intertwined a lot. Of course, Judgment Day took Kevin Owens out on the build to this as well. Took Kevin Owens out of SummerSlam. KO did return in Canada. We've had some six-man tag team matches going on in the meantime. And of course, Judgment Day have got the advantage and won one of those as well, which granted them this championship opportunity. But in the background has been J.D. McDonough, which has been an interesting flavor of this because, of course, his good friend's been trained by Finn Balor. Damian Priest has not been happy he's around. Even shoved JD, after the victory over Sami Zayn on Raw this past week. So it looks like that Damian Priest wants nothing to do with JD McDonough, but does Judgment Day want something to do with JD McDonough, or is it just Finn Balor? What are your feelings with these ingredients NXT has revealed to this tag team title match?
This has potential to be a match of the night because it's a tag team street fight, essentially, where anything goes. So we could see tables, we can see ladders, we can see the whole charade of stuff, which I'm excited for because I do love the tag team wrestling. 2, the decision is the hardest to call on the night, I feel, as well, because this could go either way. And 3, it has the biggest implications coming out of the show, depending on the result as well. So, I mean, for instance, having KO and Sami win could possibly lead to the initial starting breakup point of the Judgment Day. But then again, having Finn and Priest win by the help of JD then allows JD to come into the Judgment Day, and then everyone leaves with gold like Rhea wanted, and like it can drag this story out a little bit longer just before we then get the breakup with it. There's a lot to come out of this match. I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, I'm excited for this match purely because of the fact, yes, they've been around one another a lot in recent weeks. We've seen how they can work well together, but this is a big time tag team match. This has been building for a long time from WWE. It's been building for quite a few months, if we're being brutally honest. And like you say, with the Steel City Street Fight element, just adds an extra layer of excitement to it. And to be honest, like you said, Judgment Day could walk away with tag team championships. Could be fun, could be exciting because Judgment Day, just like in the old days of Evolution, all holding a championship. However, the storyline just seems a bit more juicy for me if something goes wrong, whether it's JD McDonough at ringside accidentally costing Damian Priest the match, or Finn Balor takes the pinfall. Something or another goes down with miscommunication again with Balor and Priest, where they've been trying to get along on the same page, but something goes wrong during this tag team match. Sami and KO to return. What is Rhea going to say? What is going to happen? Will there be changes in the Judgment Day as promised? For me, I like that excitement. I like that, dare I say, that big tease, that big cliffhanger going into Monday Night Raw. There is more to gain for me from a Judgment Day loss than a Judgment Day victory. So for me, I'm going for Sami and KO to retain.
Yeah, see, for me, I think the interesting dynamic is still that Money in the Bank briefcase, and I think that if you give these two the tag team titles going into Raw, it shows that although not everything is 100% fine within the Judgment Day, it's okay within the Judgment Day, and I think it then gives an excuse for them to lose them tag team titles down the line. And again, that Money in the Bank briefcase plays a big part in it because it's a case of when they do lose them titles, Finn can turn around and say, like, it's okay for you. You still got that Money in the Bank briefcase. You're guaranteed a shot at, like, the odds are in your favor. Like when people have cashed in, like the X amount of percentages have always been successful, and it's going to lead a case of Finn going back to being bitter and spiteful again. And like I said, if you bring JD into the Judgment Day or some kind of interaction there, I personally think that could be really exciting. So I am going to go against you, unfortunately, Steve, and say the Judgment Day win the tag team titles, but not for long.
I like it. Do you know what, though? I like the dynamic. It's different. We've got exciting stuff going on here because anything can happen. And like you say, Money in the Bank certainly is interesting element adds to it. And I like your layer of storytelling of Finn Balor. Come on, choose those tag team titles to cash in on, because if we lost those titles, what are you going to do? Are you on our side or are you not? I think that's a very good, interesting layer that could come into the story here. Temple Plays is in the house, and yes, Temple, I'm not putting that comment up for a very good reason. American Nightmare in the house, as well, says KO and Sami retains. Most likely the Profits are dethroning them, if anyone. I think that's actually my prediction at this point. I think the Street Profits would be the next tag team champions if I had to predict now. So American Nightmare, I agree with you. WrestleBoom here says KO and Sami will win, and also says that this will be match of the night. So there we go. Also, Temple Places says, not moan, but what has Zayn and Owens done with the tag team titles since winning them? Nothing. Just feels like Balor and JD should be the ones to take the titles off them now. And that's interesting with the idea.
KO's been injured for some of it, so they've not been able to defend them, unfortunately.
No, and they did also beat Roman and Solo, but I would say it has felt underwhelming. But hopefully now that KO is back to what hopefully is full fitness, fingers crossed it will be okay going forward. But Temple does go on to say that he loves Owens and Zayn. Just for Triple H is doing nothing with them when it comes to the tag team titles. That's just how I see it. Fair play to you. That's how he sees it at the moment. But you feel that obviously now injuries are perhaps cast aside. Hopefully things will be better going forward for Sam and Cammy with that tag team title reign.
Yeah, I think they just need to eventually split these tag team titles again, because it's getting boring that it's the same tag team. Like Temple Plays just said, they've not done anything with them. Yes, injuries aside, but like it was only like 3 months ago Sami Zayn was the hottest thing in the company, and as soon as they put them tag titles on them, they really like it's let's be honest, it's been the same thing over again. It's either been the Judgment Day or it's been the Bloodline. It's just been the same interactions with those two since WrestleMania, and it's kind of like we need something fresh for them. We need something fresh for this tag team division. So you never know. Like I said, hopefully either they lose and Judgment Day take them off of them, and then they can do something different, or they just give them some other different opponents, or I don't know, do something crazy like a gauntlet match for the tag team titles. Do you know what I mean? It just like it'd make it more exciting.
Absolutely. I feel that if I had to predict now, I feel they're dragging this out. I think Sami and KO probably lose them around Royal Rumble season. I can see the Profits taking it from them, and I reckon it could be that same old song and dance with Sami and KO. If they're not best friends, they end up being enemies. But we'll see how it will play out if that is what WWE decides to do. But hey, that's me speculating.
Have Kevin and Sami had a Mania match against each other?
They have, yes. That's where Logan Paul made his first appearance in WWE. I believe it was WrestleMania 37.
Okay, right. I was going to say, like, I don't know. That'd be the only thing I could see building for Mania is KO versus Sami. But if they've already done it, it would be a case of I don't know what they're going to do then.
I mean, they've done matches repeats before. We've had Rock and Austin 3 times. We've had Triple H and Undertaker 3 times. So it's been done in the past.
Yeah, but it's Kevin and Sami. Like those two matches you just said are like main event headliners. Do you know what I mean? And it's like it's Kevin Owens versus Sami. Although the quality of wrestling is amazing, it's like, is it the reason why? Do you know what I mean? Is it gonna like it's not a main event match? Unfortunately, don't get me wrong. I'd be all for seeing it.
I mean, they'd be in a much stronger position on the card if they were to do the match one more time. So we'll have to wait and see.
I just want to see Kevin back in the world title scene. If I'm honest, like second ever Universal Champion, and it was a case of like he's not been a world champion since, and he said he had special gear made for when he was champion, and we're still yet to see it because they took the title off of him before he had a chance to wear it, man. And I'm like, WWE, I want to see this gear, man. He had it specifically made.
Absolutely. Suggestion of Hell in a Cell match between these two at WrestleMania 40. I mean, you wouldn't say no, would you?
I'll be honest with you. I'm bored of Hell in a Cell. Don't get me wrong. The idea of a stipulation match, I think, is great. Maybe I know a street fight sounds boring, but I think it sounds more up Sami and Kevin's. Like it sounds more up their street. Like these guys are the two best friends that have come up through the indies together. I think a street fight would be more fitting.
Oh, fair enough indeed. And I've got to say, Richard, I must admit this may be the funniest reason for a match to finish in history. Ends in the tie due to slow circumstances. Becky and Trish. Is that the slow build or is that a slow match? I'm not sure. But Richard, loving your creativity nonetheless. There, KO and Sami to retain there, joining on where we're at. But in the meantime, we're going to go on to what we will talk about as the main event match on this stream. It is the World Heavyweight Championship match, Seth freaking Rollins versus Shinsuke Nakamura. And of course, NXT, when you were missing earlier in this video, I did say this was the match I was most looking forward to, mainly due to the fact of the presentation of Shinsuke Nakamura. They've done an excellent job of this guy since he's turned heel the night after SummerSlam on Seth Rollins. The video packages, the whisper in Seth's ear, knowing that Seth has got this problem with his back. Obviously, two areas of his back is broken. It's a matter of time with this broken body. And Shin wants his wife to know that when he can't get out of bed in the morning and she needs to help him, that Shin is the reason why. This stuff where he's doing these promos in Japanese has been absolutely superb. Why have we not seen this Nakamura before now? It's been amazing for me.
It's 6 years we've waited for this, and we've finally got something interesting for Nakamura. You're right; it's been fantastic. It's like when Io and Asuka went off at each other in Japanese. I ain't got a Scooby as to what they're saying, but my God, it was fantastic. But they seem to be like, whether it's Triple H or what, but they're just tapping into the more New Japan style of Shinsuke Nakamura and like the presentation. And it makes sense. It's what the guy's known for. He is the king of strong style. It's what they should have been doing 6 years ago. So, no, you're right. It is a highly exciting possibility. It's just my biggest worry is that I get so hyped for Nakamura matches and they just seem to under-deliver. So I'm trying to not get my hopes up because I've seen it before when we had AJ versus Nakamura at Mania and went, this has potential to be match of the year, and it's severely under-delivered. So for me, I'm just trying not to get too excited for it.
Absolutely. Well, of course, this heel version of Nakamura seems a lot more interesting than low blow Nakamura that took on AJ Styles back then. But Seth and Nakamura have wrestled before at Survivor Series a few years ago when they were both, I think Seth was the IC champion, Nakamura was the United States champion. Of course, when they did the Raw versus SmackDown, had a very good match on that Survivor Series show. I'm hoping they can really repeat those levels for this show here. And obviously, what's great about this storyline, obviously, is the fact that they've got something to play on. Seth Rollins, the back is the target in the match. They've got a real narrative to go with this, and I think that alone could easily make this a 3.5 or 4-star match, just the way if they can just tell that story throughout the match.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of almost want Seth to come across like how Cody did at Hell in a Cell between those two, and like he has to overcome the adversary and the difficulties and like the odds are against him and all that kind of stuff. So it like I said, it can be the potential to be a really, really good match, whether it's the start of a feud and we get a trilogy out of these, or for example. But like I said, yeah, I'm just trying not to get too excited because I've seen it happen before where I get super gassed for a Nakamura match, and unfortunately, the NXT matches just are nothing like we've seen. We've not seen anything NXT quality wise on the main roster.
Absolutely. Well, it comes down to prediction time then. Seth freaking Rollins versus Shinsuke Nakamura. How do you see it playing out?
As much as I'd love to say Shinsuke Nakamura wins, Seth Rollins retains for me.
Absolutely. Well, I've got a bit of a long-winded prediction here because there may be more to this than meets the eye. I think Seth freaking Rollins is going to get heavily beaten down on his back throughout this match. They're going to do exactly what Nakamura says. He's going to make Seth vulnerable. But I do think Seth is going to overcome Shinsuke Nakamura and retain the World Heavyweight Championship. However, I said Seth will be vulnerable.
Don't you dare say it. Don't you dare say it. I know what you're going to say.
I know.
You're going to say Damian Priest crashes in on Seth Rollins, right?
I'm going to say that indeed, because will the Judgment Day all leave as champions?
Wow.
All of them but one.
But Finn.
And the one but Finn Balor.
Wow, that's amazing.
Then the decision can be made on Raw if Finn Balor is going to be removed from the group, because he's the one that's been almost talked about backstage a lot. He's the one that's been missing out of the group as much of late with JD McDonough. Or is it going to be a sense of the fact that Rhea and Dom may see Finn Balor's side of an argument, the fact that Damian Priest didn't have his eye on the group side of things to win the tag team championships. Maybe there's, like I said, miscommunication earlier evening, a problem with JD McDonough. Therefore, they don't win that match. He has only eyes for himself as an individual. therefore kicked out of the group as an individual, and we can have Priest versus Balor with the Judgment Day in his corner at Fastlane. There is certainly ways and ways it can go around. There is also the possibility that Priest could cash in and Balor and JD McDonough could cost that cash in and Seth could retain. But I will say that Damian Priest will successfully cash in his Money in the Bank here to close the show, because Seth is vulnerable, but Nakamura's not the one.
Hey, man, it's a great shout and I like it. And do you know what? The more I think about it, the more of a possibility it sounds like it could happen. And do you know what? It kind of makes me regret the decisions I've made now. Like, it's so right. Like, it forces Finn. Like, Finn then gets a shot against Priest, and yeah, JD's involved. And yeah, man, I like the sound of it. It sounds good, man. It's just a case of, will it happen, man? But fingers crossed, man, because it sounds awesome.
If it does happen, I'll be very happy. But, sometimes fantasy booking can lead you down a dark tunnel to a dead end.
If it happens, I'm coming for you for the lottery numbers next weekend. Trust me.
I wouldn't do that. I've not won ever, so I wouldn't do that. That'd be the worst thing you could ever do. Unless you want to just waste money. That could also be a good thing as well. But hey, we'll go into the comments in the meantime. Anyway, see what everyone's got to say. CD now, C Nation Dog, everybody. Make sure to check here out fantastic stuff on the content on this channel on a regular basis. KO deserves one more world title reign. It'll most likely be the World Heavyweight Championship, since that is the secondary title. I do not see Kevin Owens winning the WWE Championship. I kind of agree with CD. If he was to win one, it feels like the Raw World title would be the one.
No, I would love to see a Cody Rhodes Kevin Owens feud for that WWE title. I think that would be amazing.
I would love to see it as well. Would love to see it down. But I do agree with CD on his comment, though. American says, American not made Seth wins, no title changes on this show. Almost agree. CD says Seth Freakin Rollins to retain the World Heavyweight Championship. Damian Priest will cash in at Survivor Series on Seth Freakin Rollins when Seth Rollins is facing Roman Reigns. Interesting thought there from CD. I like that there, because that would protect some people in that match as well. Seth Rollins will win, says WrestleBoom, and early prediction says that KO and Sami Zayn lose those tag team championships, and KO will turn heel and then dethrone Seth Rollins. WrestleBoom also going to say that if Priest is cashing in the World Heavyweight Championship, then Finn will be pissed. That's the idea, and I like the idea a lot. CD says, I would like to see Nathan Frazier get a main roster call up, as would I, and help Seth Freakin Rollins against Finn Balor and JD McDonough. It'd be like teacher and student versus teacher and student. Makes a lot of sense.
Great shot. I love that idea. Nathan Frazier is really exciting to watch as well. So the grizzly old vet and the young up and comer that's been trained by their mentor. I like the idea of it. It sounds amazing.
Absolutely. I love the idea of it as well there. Temple Play says, I'm loving this heel and Shinsuke Nakamura. Better than the other time than he turned on AJ at Mania. Should have had him beat Styles, but deceased. I don't know if that's if I'm reading that right at the end there. But yeah, it didn't exactly work out that way.
The heel turn was the best part in that match, unfortunately.
Yes, what followed was not. What happened before, unfortunately. It was nowhere near Wrestle Kingdom level. WrestleBoom says, I want to see Nathan Frazier and Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor and JD McDonough in the future. So that seems to be a great shout amongst some others there. And CD says, I'd like to see Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens feud, but Cody Rhodes would win. I would agree that Cody Rhodes probably would win. And Temple Plays, I've not missed out your comment, don't worry. At Wembley, if I saw you, I would have said, Steve, give us a wave. Yeah, unfortunately, it's big Wembley, isn't it? It's massive. I must admit, I would have loved to have said hello to everybody that I seen was there at the end, but it just was impossible. But I'll tell you what, Temple, I know you was there as well. We did message on Twitter at the time. You did give a wave anyway on Twitter. I gave you a virtual wave back as well there. So I hope you enjoyed the show as well. He says, Bray Wyatt's death still doesn't feel real to me, and neither does it me. I'll be honest with everybody. It took me a while to watch SmackDown. I wasn't sure if I was ready to watch it, to be honest. It didn't feel real to me, but I watched SmackDown. I've seen Raw as well, both of them today, in hopes that Seth does a tribute match in his match at Payback. And of course, Seth did say yowie wowie on Raw, and there's been some lovely tributes for Bray Wyatt. In fact, I believe now WWE has released a full 40-minute video of WWE superstars sharing stories and experiences with Bray Wyatt on their YouTube channel.
Well, we'll go and watch that. That sounds amazing.
Absolutely. And of course, Bray Wyatt.
Did you by chance see the guy dressed as the Fiend and the guy dressed as Eater of Worlds Bray Wyatt at All In by any chance?
I didn't, unfortunately. No.
Because you was the other end to me. Yeah, as they came, they were sitting in the seats on the floor level, and they came in, and everyone just started applauding, man, because the guy was full Bray Wyatt. He had the mask on, the red and black trousers, the leather jacket, and then his mate who was with him was dressed up as Eater of Worlds. Man, it was quality, man.
Absolutely. I've got to say, obviously throughout the show, obviously it's an AEW show, so there wasn't really much of the Bray Wyatt chanting being in Wembley. But I've got to say, we were on Wembley Way we waited about an hour to get to the train station afterwards to get ourselves back home. This is how busy it was. It was like a start-stop area, and the whole area we were in for numerous times, we're all singing. He's got the whole world in his hands, and I've got to say, it was lovely. So there's a lot of love for Bray out there, and of course he's very much missed. And there were some magical Bray Wyatt moments throughout his career, and hopefully at some point through retro content. And there is some Bray Wyatt stuff already in the retro sections on this channel, but hopefully there'll be more covered in, of course, the months and years to come. And of course, there are many great moments from Bray Wyatt, and he will be sorely missed. Of course, we've got WrestleBoom here, of course, adding the sentiments of RIP Bray Wyatt. Also, another comment from WrestleBoom here says Seth Rollins' next challenger should be Ricochet, Drew, or Bronson Reed. I think for me, Drew would be my favorite of those ones, but he's in a weird tag team with Matt Riddle right now. It seems to be almost Brandy's missing, so we'll try it with Drew.
It's not a lot I can say, really. It's Riddle, and it's a waste of Drew, unfortunately. Like, I don't know. Unless you give me a Riddle heel turn, I just don't see it. I think it's just a waste of Drew. I think Drew should be in the world title scene. I think even heel at this, even I don't know, unless at this point you're trying to build Drew up for a heel turn himself. I think this could be the startings of it, because I imagine hanging around with Riddle for that long, I would probably go and want to turn heel. Because I wouldn't be a fan of it. But yeah, like I said, I don't know. Maybe they've got some plan for it, but it's Matt Riddle. Unfortunately, I'm bored of his character, unfortunately.
Same here, indeed. I think Seth versus Drew would be an awesome match to see. But all three of the matches would be amazing, but Drew would be the most qualified at this
I want Ciampa versus Rollins.
Would be a great match. They were supposed to have it on Raw, of course, a number of weeks ago, which didn't happen, unfortunately. But hey, if you've enjoyed this video, make sure to hit a like on it. Of course, it takes a couple of seconds, and believe it or not, it does more help for this channel than you could actually believe. Make sure to share it with a friend as well, and subscribe if you're new to SCW. Did you know that nearly half of the people that are watching this video are not subscribed to this channel? I know, it shocked me as well. So make sure to change that here today.
I'll tell you what. I'll give you props. That's better than most YouTube channels, Steve. So I will give you that prop. There's most of the time it's like, did you know 70% of people are not subscribed to this channel? The fact that you're on 50 is impressive. I'm impressed.
Well, thank you very much, Bill. For those who are watching who are not subscribed, what are you waiting for? It takes a couple of seconds. Doesn't cost a penny. Doesn't cost a cent. Doesn't cost a dime. Wherever you are in the world, it is free to do so. And there is content done on this channel on a regular basis. And when I'm very fortunate, the man to the side of me, NXSteve, is joining me in the hot seat.
And most of the time, I'm making a tit of myself. So, yeah.
No, not at all. Not at all. And if he is, that means we're making a pair, because I will be as well. Hey, American Nightmare says, I can't wait for Drew turning heel finally. Of course, looking forward to that time as well. I think it would be quite fun for Drew to do so. But any final closing thoughts before we wrap up the stream?
No, just like I said, we've pretty much covered it all. It's just a case of there's a lot of potential for a lot of interesting stories to come out of this show this weekend. There's a potential to have some really good matches this weekend. It's just a case of hopefully Shinsuke Nakamura is allowed to be Shinsuke Nakamura. I'm excited for it. Like I said, I'm doing that thing again where I underwhelm it so that I can be blown away if it's better than what I expect it to be. So, like I said, there'll be some good stuff on it, and it'll be interesting to see what happens coming out of the show.
Absolutely, yeah. I kind of feel like it's probably the same thing for me. I feel, as we said, feels kind of like predictable answers of what's going to happen here. But hopefully, the show will show some good matches, some clever booking. Maybe the narrative part will be the draw, what gets us excited coming out of this rolling into Fast Lane. Ryan suggests that you look like Kevin Owens. I don't personally see it. How do you feel looking in the mirror?
I'll take that as a compliment. Kevin Owens is a good-looking guy, but I am wearing a Rhea Ripley t-shirt, so I don't think I'm wearing the right shirt. But next time I'll try and get a KO shirt for you.
Absolutely, indeed. There's certainly. There's nothing wrong with the nightmare. Let's be fair. Temple Places says Damian Priest, Rhea, Dominic turn on Finn Balor and JD as a tag team. Kind of want the story to continue with AJ Styles, Gallows, and Anderson. Come full circle. Of course, that would go full circle indeed. And of course, if Edge goes to get into mix as well, that really would be the full group in together as one. Perhaps it could lead into War Games, which of course is Survivor Series. War Games. I love that we did that in sync. But yeah, absolutely superb. But well, that's going to be it from us, ladies and gents. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you're watching this on delay as well, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this whole stream out and taking out the time out of your day to do so. Really, really do appreciate it. For those that have been in the chat, you've been amazing as always, sharing your thoughts, your predictions. Without you all, basically this channel doesn't exist. So thank you very much for all taking the time out of your day to be with us and chat along during the stream. I have to say a big thank you as well to the man sitting next to me as well, NXSteve. Absolute pleasure seeing you on the weekend, of course, at Wembley for All In. And of course, it's always a pleasure to talk pro wrestling with you on this stream. Of course, talking WWE Payback 2023 today.
As usual, always a pleasure. I look forward to you embarrassing me by some sort of No Mercy quiz in some point near future, which I now have to revise on. But yeah, like Steve said, 50% of you are not subscribed to this channel. What's wrong with you, man? It's one click away from solving that problem, so do it.
Absolutely. Make sure to subscribe and make sure to keep an eye on other content that will be going on the channel. Of course, as it's Payback week, you can go and do the retro. Of course, that's not really retro, actually. It's just a rewind this month. We did 2020. Roman Reigns to date, 3 years as the champion. He did it 3 years ago today. That review is on the channel right now. Of course, The Fiend was, of course, a part of the main event of that match as well, along with Braun Strowman. It's actually a really, really good match. If you haven't seen it, to go back and watch it over. Of course, if you talk about quizzes, the Payback quiz is also available right now. So make sure to go and check that out also. But like we say, No Mercy is going to be the month of September here for retro content, of course, on the channel. So keep an eye on the community tab. That will be that poll should be going out perhaps even tonight. Who knows? I might surprise you. So keep an eye and get your votes in nice and early. But that's all from us. Thank you for watching. NXSteve, any final words?
Subscribe.
Yeah. Take care. All the best.